So I'll just give you a couple of stories from these guys. I'll take the example of Zoho, as I had mentioned. Now, you know what Zoho has done? Two very interesting things they've done. Number one, I don't know if you're aware, but the founder of Zoho, his name is Sridhar Vembu, right? He is my junior from one of the IIT. I'm from IIT Delhi. He's from IIT Madras. Many years junior to him, so I never got a chance to rag him. Maybe I will someday. So Sridhar Vembu, he comes from a rural background. All right. His family was based in the district of Tenkasi in Tamil Nadu. I'd never heard of it. Right. And he came from that background. And he says, look, I want to go back to my roots. For many years, he was in San Francisco in the Silicon Valley. And he said, I want to go back to my roots. So what he has done is he's moved back to his roots and he has created very interesting clusters of developers. See, it's a software company, right? Clusters of developers who are rural. So he has people who are living in villages and the office is right there. You can imagine the reduction in cost, right? Because you're not operating out of Bombay or Bangalore or Hyderabad, you're operating out of a village, right? And costs are very low, whether it is infrastructure cost, building cost, salary cost, everything, right? And he gets world class people because they don't have an opportunity anywhere else, right? So, tremendous method of bringing down cost. Number one. Number two, he has created something really unique. It is called Zoho Schools. And how does Zoho Schools work? He realized, he says, look, you assume that programmers have to have a BTech or a BCA or some kind of graduation degree or maybe a BSc in computer science to become a good programmer. Why? He questioned that very fundamental assumption. He says, why can't a bright guy who's only finished school become a great programmer? So what he did was he says, okay, Tamil Nadu, the state of Tamil Nadu, which is his home state, um, it has a lot of bright young kids who are in rural backgrounds. Unfortunately, their families have not been financially able to send them to a good college after class 12. Till class 12, they were typically in a government school, but after that, the families couldn't manage. So, most of them would end up maybe getting back to farming, right? He says what we will do is we will select real bright guys out of these people from typically non-well-to-do families, poorer families, right? We will put them through a 2-year program, intensive program, and that program we call Zoho Schools. So there is a branch in Chennai, and there is another branch in the district of Tenkasi in a village called Mathalamparai, which is, by the way, where Sridhar Vembu has his head office, right? Mathalamparai, which I can guarantee nobody's heard of, right? None of the people in this audience. I had never heard of it till I actually discovered this. So that's what happened. And he got phenomenally bright kids. They never had an opportunity to study beyond, let's say, class 12. They did extremely well. And they also worked with Zoho's, experienced software developers. So they worked on projects. Not only was there theory, not only were there classes, but there was also projects. So they learned everything, whether it's theory or practicals. Today, 15 to 20% of the manpower of Zoho is kids from Zoho schools, from this background, right? And many of them are working, like I told you, in villages because the offices are there, right? Cost comes down dramatically. These people are very stable. They've got a huge opportunity. Salaries from what they had expected are much higher, but salaries compared to, let's say, a typical programmer in Bangalore are much lower. They're very happy. They stay with their parents, right? They get home food. They're not worried about rentals and the landlord throwing them out and the landlord cribbing that you're getting girlfriends over in the evening and so. No, none of these problems. They're very happy. They're extremely productive. So one huge reason, huge experiment, which has worked extremely well. And by the way, the manpower turnover is close to zero. Close to zero. Okay, so that's one example of Zoho. I'll give you another example, and I'll take that from Dream 11. I still have some time, Jesh? Yeah? Okay, great. By the way, I have been a professor. I can carry on till 9 o'clock. There's no problem. You guys
No
are the
worries.
ones who have a time constraint. I don't.
No worries. If anything like
Okay.
this, I would
Yeah.
give you a
Okay.
heads up.
So I'll take another example from Dream 11. And again, I'm taking um, I would say a HR or a manpower, a people-oriented perspective again. And then maybe I'll talk about Zerodha or Naukri and I'll talk about a business perspective. So, these guys, um, they are into fantasy sports, as all of you know. You must have seen the ad, Aap Dream 11 pe team bana lo, right? You have Rishabh Pant, you have Rohit Sharma, and you have, I think, a few other guys, Jadeja probably. Now, obviously, since it's a tech company, they need tech people, and they need programmers and large number of programmers. But they do not select programmers. What they select is people who are programmers, but are also passionate about sports because it's a sports tech company, right? And look at what these guys have done. A programmer, if he comes to Dream 11, the moment he gets a 20% higher salary in some other company, he'll jump. But a guy who's passionate about sports, they hang on to him there, right? And I'll tell you how. If you go to that office, and some of you would be Bombay based, I've been to that office a couple of times. It's in BKC, which is exactly where I think Jayesh, you are speaking from right now. If you've been to their office, it is two floors of one building in BKC. You walk in, and you walk into the reception, and in the reception there is a small football field. So you're standing on a football field in the reception of a corporate office in BKC in Mumbai, in the heart of the commercial world in India. All right, it's a football field. At one end there is a goalpost. Under that goalpost you have sofas. So if you're waiting for somebody, for example, I was waiting for Harsh Jain, the founder. You're waiting for somebody, you're sitting on the sofa under a goalpost. Can you imagine that, right? You walk in, and normally offices would be, the flooring would be either Italian marble or wooden flooring or maybe wall to wall carpeting or whatever. These guys have none of that. You know what they have? They have AstroTurf. And if you guys are familiar with hockey, AstroTurf is what hockey fields are made of. So the entire floor is covered with AstroTurf. Okay. Wherever you go in that building, on that floor, they have two floors. You will see, I saw something like 100 hockey sticks hanging from the ceiling. I saw a place where there were lots of basketballs. Each meeting room, there are multiple meeting rooms, right? And each meeting room is named after something to do with sport. So, for instance, they have picked up from the IPL, and the Mumbai Indians team, which is one of the IPL teams. There is one Mumbai Indians meeting room, and that has cricket bats all over. The shelves are made of cricket bats. Okay. Then there is a Chennai Super Kings meeting room, which has a huge photograph of, and I'm sure you can guess, MS Dhoni, right? Then there is a Punjab Kings meeting room, which has a kind of truck coming out of the wall, and a couple of people doing bhangra, and it says Sadda Punjab, right? So the entire atmosphere is sport. You have a lot of bean bags where you can sit, and there are TVs all over the place, and you can all when you get tired of working, you can watch TV. So they have created a sports environment, and people therefore are not just there to earn money; they like the environment. All right. What these guys did was during COVID, business collapsed. Okay, it absolutely collapsed. Obviously, it was zero. There was no physical sport. There would be no fantasy sport as well, right? But there was no mass layoffs. In internet companies, the norm is when you're in a crisis, you lay off either 500 people or 1,000 people or 2,000 people, right? That's the internet world. They laid off nobody. You know what Harsh Jain said? He says, look, during good times, you have looked after the company. Now, during bad times, the company will look after you. And the reason why he could do this was that they were profitable. So they were able to manage through those tough times. You know what their manpower turnover is? Their manpower turnover is a miserable 4%. In a year, not more than 4% leave. And for an internet company, I've been in the internet world for years and years, decades. It's unthinkable. It's an Olympic record. It's a world record. I mean, you can't have people staying on, but the people stay on. So, because they stay on, recruitment costs are very low, replacement costs are very low, training costs are very low, productivity is very high because people are happy, costs are low, highly profitable, right? And they had a recent issue with the GST Council where they had to pay far more GST than they were earlier paying, but they were able to survive. They were one of the few players. Many people closed down. These people survived and are still growing, right? So again, profitable.